Good morning, everybody. I'm going to just do a little update. I did not check all of the news this morning, but it was interesting. I had a chance to catch NPR radio news. NPR radio news is known to be agenda-driven news on the liberal side of the aisle, and there are many conservatives, which I am not, who will not listen to NPR. There are many liberals who will not watch Fox or whatever. But it was an interesting story. Sometimes I do make videos after I listen to NPR because I could see the tremendous bias. And there were times where... but today was interesting. They had a discussion about Fox News teaming up with AP, I guess Associated Press, and they were discussing how they're doing a different type of polling about elections. Okay, and I figured NPR was going to be critical of it. But basically, what you have had in the news media, just about every election, whether it's a presidential or an upcoming midterm elections, in this country, what the media or the news has done consistently is they have basically lied constantly. And they know they have done this, and this is how they lie. They want the Democratic candidate to win. I'm not against all Democratic candidates, by the way. But this is what they feel their cause is just. So when they do polling, and the most biggest example is Mr. Trump's election. When they do polling, if you had like 2 lemonade stands, and say if you said, I'm a news person, and today I'm going to go and see which lemonade stand is better. And these wonderful children are selling lemonade. Actually, last week somebody was doing that. But say if I'm biased or I'm a relative to one of those kids selling the lemonade, but I don't tell you that. I'm news guy, I'm the lemonade guy. And then I will go and say I'm going to interview all the kids that bought the lemonade at this stand, and then I'm going to interview kids that bought the lemonade at the other stand. But I just interview the kids that liked the lemonade. I said, okay, did you like it? Yes. No, I didn't like it either. And I tell you, more kids liked this one than the other one. But what I didn't tell you is I interviewed more kids that liked that other kid. I basically skewed my poll or my reporting, and the mainstream media has been doing that for years. So as this little report came up on NPR News, it said Fox News is joining with the Associated Press, which is not, Associated Press is reputable. And they're just basically going to try to look at, kind of like break through some of what's been going on. And then the actual NPR News, which is liberal, admitted, because they had another reporter on, and he said, well, many pollsters for many years have gotten tired of us oversampling the Democrats. They admitted it, meaning they've been lying time after time after time. Now, the people that do lie to you constantly, consistently, nonstop, which is your media, which is your Polar Times, which is your mainstream media, they do it because they feel that their cause is just. I remember I had a conversation a few years ago, and I have friends that are very liberal and friends that are very conservative. And with this liberal friend who watches MSNBC, somehow it got into the abortion issue. And I simply was saying that, sometimes in the abortion issue, people justify and they say it's good to abort children with Down syndrome because of various reasons, which I don't believe that one moment. But I was not arguing that much with the person. but the person is ultra liberal. And the person began making their point angrily. And we had a common friend who has a Down syndrome child, who I've known for many, many, many years. And that person, in defense of the view that the media gave them, said, and look at all the years that so-and-so had to raise that child, and that had to struggle taking care, and never had a life of her own, because she had to trudge and care. And at the end of their tirade, because they were a victim of the media, I said, but do you know so-and-so loves that child? And we all know who that child is. And I said, by the way, that child is a wonderful child. Loved by their family, has a personality, and did have some disabilities throughout that child's life. And I guess maybe for a second, that person, because they were listening to a view for so long that they didn't realize even their mind was affected, that they said it would have been better if that child was never born. And then, and years ago, there's other examples we can give. But what this is people that used to have the only voice that they could give you. And they knew that they lie to you. And they feel their cause is just, their cause is right. In the early days of Christianity, I'm not the same teaching post, but you had a historian by the name of Josephus. And Josephus, as one of the famous historians you study in church history, he documented that Christ rose from the dead. And you have other documents of, and the followers believe that Jesus rose from the dead. And people used to wonder, like, why did they put the truth in there? It's because they wanted to be known as reputable sources in history. Not like the media today. The media today is one of the most disgraceful jobs you could ever have. I'll give you another example. A few years ago, Sonny and Cher, their sweet daughter, Chastity Bono, who I used to watch growing up on the Sonny and Cher show. But she went through transgender surgery, gonna have the surgery, not gonna have the surgery, and she was being interviewed by various Piers Morgan, various news people. And I remember as I watched those, Piers Morgan had Chastity Bono and then her girlfriend on the show, on the CNN show, and you could see Chastity Bono was confused. The name was changed to Chaz. I'm not sure if she had the sex reassignment surgery yet, but the girlfriend of Chastity Bono, who is transgender, identifying as a male, Piers said, when are you going to get married? He was just celebrating what he felt was his own view to the world, how accepting and all. And I could see Chastity Bono, there was like hesitancy about everything. And he said, oh, you're just a normal male getting cold feet. But no, all of the statistics show there was a famous hospital in this country that was known to do sex reassignment surgeries. But the rate of suicide was so high among the people that had the operation. And then the rates of depression and treatment for depression was so high that the hospital had to stop doing it. But they didn't tell anybody why. Because they were afraid that, and those are statistics, meaning if you love people, if you're truly liberal-minded, you won't cloak yourself behind any view that's destructive to another person because it makes you feel good about yourself. And to many in the media, that you see article after article, whenever really concerned people say late-term abortion, fully formed children being torn apart in the womb, in our country just as a means of birth control, is a very bad thing to the child. It's detrimental to the mother. And many in the media have celebrated, and if any serious questions arise in the minds of people in society that say, oh, I never realized it, or they saw a picture of it, you can Google it, pictures of abortion. There are sites that will show it. But their mind, the media-driven mind, says, no, no, we have a particular cause, and it makes us feel good about ourselves to mock those who are against abortion. This is the media, and it makes us feel good about ourselves to promote those that are for abortion, without ever really looking at what are you justifying. Your short time on earth, and you spent many years, but many in the media, many of the justices that sit on the Supreme Court, and you said, we want to leave a good legacy. Your legacy is a Holocaust. It's a Holocaust because of your inability to simply discern truth. Now, why do people manipulate like that? They feel that their cause is just. And this little example from the NPR, for them to admit that people, basically regular people, Democrat, Republican, liberal, they're beginning to see the manipulation. And they just don't want you to lie anymore about just about everything you put in your newspapers. I posted, now those of you that see this video in a few minutes, on all the little sites I put them on, if you go to my Facebook page, which is the John Chiarello page, my link, you'll see I posted again some articles about the spy, that Trump tweeted the spy. But if you look at it, I also posted an earlier New York Times article that came out maybe a month ago. What these reports were not telling you in the beginning was this. The FBI, in their investigation of Mr. Trump, began realizing that they were being revealed, exposed. There's a lot of stuff that was corrupt that these guys did, using opposition research to start a secret investigation like that before it started earlier. And so in order to justify that, they knew they were getting caught. They themselves leaked to the New York Times, to reporters, that no, we caught another Trump guy by the name of Papadopoulos. He was drunk one night in London, and he was bragging to everybody that, yes, we in the Trump campaign know the Russians hacked the Hillary email. That too is a lie, because what they're not reporting, there was another man by the name of Mifsud, besides the spy who has now been outed by the name of Halper. The Daily Caller outed him first. He was a London professor, worked with the U.S. intelligence agencies. But there's another guy by the name of Mifsud. And what they did was they made contact first. And they were actually planting part of the story. Meaning the undercover guy, when he first made contact with this Papadopoulos, he himself said, the campaign has got intelligence that the Russians hacked Hillary's email. Then they fed that to this man. Then they put the setup, and then they released it. The FBI and all released that, leaked it to the press, so you would read that favorable New York Times piece that said, oh, they have other information that led to it. That was a setup. They did that on purpose. Now, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. It's the media believing, because they have empowered this. And whether it's the tragedy of abortion, whether it's my wonderful friend who the media convinced that Down syndrome children should not live, or whether it's the media. That's what they do. And they're not like Josephus, who said, well, there's going to come a day where if I lie about the reality that Jesus rose from the dead, then I'm going to go down in history as a lying journalist, historian. And this is the day that this media is that. This media is fake news in our day. And if you would love people, you wouldn't tell Chastity Bono, oh, you're just a man with cold feet. No, Chastity. You're going through the statistics that we all know are true, which once you get a reassignment surgery like that, it's traumatic to the body, and most people, when they get sex reassignment surgery, most of them wake up and say, what have I done? And then the big majority of them kill themselves. And the media knows it, but they don't know. We're not out for the welfare of that person. We want to look good to everybody. So you lie. The 9-month-old in the womb child, one picture, the severing of the arm, the sucking of the brain, horrendous. How can we? But the media, wonderful, great. And if you have a Catholic nun that says, let's question this, what does the media do? Mocks her. Oh, you're just living in the... No, it's called life. The beautiful, wonderful child that you don't even want. And if you expose a picture of it, the media says, how dare you? There was a priest one day that actually put an aborted fetus, brought it into the Catholic Church. It was sanitized, and he wanted to show the body, which he did. And they tried to bring criminal charges against him. How dare you bring into the light which we, the media, have deemed should be hidden? So I believe not just the fake news in the way most of us, I believe there's such a manipulative force in our country, and they have made the minds of people evil affected against children, against Down syndrome, whatever cause they deem is their cause. And that's manipulation. And I'm sure some of them don't realize what a disgraceful profession they're in. I'm sure the Kohler Times does not realize what damage they have done. Well, they have given voice to the death of so many wonderful Hispanic children in this community. Because when anybody tries to show a wonderful girl that maybe's got in trouble, maybe got pregnant, and say, dear, we want to take, or with somebody getting a transgender operation, we'd like to tell you that there are a lot of effects. No, the media says, how dare you warn these innocent women of the devastating effects of the things which we have allowed. So it's not just a matter of a Trump spy thing. It's a matter of your inability, your utter inability to ever speak the truth.